The Name Jar by Young Suk Choi. Through the school bus window, Yoon Hai looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. Please pause and answer question 1. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yoon Hai's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Yoon Hai had wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "Is that a thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Yoon Hai, surprising her. Yoon Hai looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Yoon Hai answered quickly, putting the pouch back in her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" a girl asked. "Yoon Hai," said Yoon Hai. "Une?" the girl asked, scrunching up her face. "Ooh, Une," some kids chanted. No, Yoon Hai corrected her. "It's spelled U-N-H-E-I. It's pronounced Yoon Hai." "Oh, it's you, hey," the boy said, like, "Hey, you, hey, what about hey, you?" Just then, the bus pulled up to school and the doors opened. Yoon Hai hurried to get off. "You, hey, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Yoon Hai felt herself blush. Please pause and answer question 2. Yoon Hai stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. "Aren't you going in?" asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Yoon Hai nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Yoon Hai. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. "She and her family just arrived from Korea last week." Yoon Hai smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" someone shouted. Yoon Hai pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet," she told the class, "but I'll let you know by next week." As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. "Why doesn't she have a name?" she heard someone whisper. "Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity," a boy replied. Please pause and answer questions 3 and 4. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Yoon Hai kept thinking about her name. "How was school, Yoon Hai?" her mother asked when she walked in. "Did you understand the teacher?" Yoon Hai simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. "I'm glad you are learning English well," her mother said. "You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you're a good Korean." "I will," replied Yoon Hai. But I would like my own American name," she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. "Why? Yoon Hai is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it." "But it's so hard to pronounce," Yoon Hai complained. "I don't want to be different from all the American kids." "You are different, Yoon Hai," her mother said. "That's a good thing." Yoon Hai just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Yoon Hai and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took down off the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was both in English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Yoon Hai's favorite, for soup. It made Yoon Hai smile. "Just because we moved to America," her mother said, "doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food." At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yoon Hai. "Helping your mother with the shopping?" he asked. Yoon Hai nodded. "I'm Mr. Kim," he said. "And what is your name?" "Yoon Hai," she answered. "Ah, what a beautiful name," he said. "Doesn't it mean grace?" Yoon Hai nodded again. "My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it," she told him. "A graceful name for a graceful girl," Mr. Kim said as he put the groceries into bags. "Welcome to the neighborhood, Yoon Hai." That evening, Yoon Hai stood in the front of the bathroom mirror. "Hi, my name's Amanda," she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. "Hi, my name's Laura." Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. "I don't think American kids will like me," she worried as she began to brush her teeth. "Hi, ma, nem, id, shuyi," she said to the mirror with a mouthful of toothpaste. Please pause and answer question 5. The next morning when Yoonhai arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Yoonhai took one out and read it out loud. Daisy. That's my baby sister's nickname. But she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Yoonhai took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Yoonhai nodded and unfolded another piece. Wednesday? Yeah, you came here on Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Yoonhai's face. Ralph quickly said, we'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like or pick them at all, and you will have the longest name in history. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Yoonhai looked out the window and saw it sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey! A familiar voice called out to her. Yoonhai turned around to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said, and don't you have any name? Yoonhai thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and took out the small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block on the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Yoonhai said, and the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. When Yoonhai got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Yoonhai, I hope you're enjoying new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up, but there the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Yoonhai, your grandma forever. Yoonhai took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. Please pause and answer question number 7. On Saturday, Yoonhai walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Yoonhai! Hello, Mr. Kim, Yoonhai replied as she felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Eunhee? He asked her with his eyes open wide. Yoonhai looked quickly at Mr. Kim and then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Yoonhai. And it means grace, Mr. Kim added. Yoonhai, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Yoonhai smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Yoonhai, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at that store. On Monday, Yoonhai came to class early to look at the names one last time, but the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was just a single piece of paper with a name on it. Yoonhai slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Yoonhai said. It wasn't on Mr. Kokoto's desk or on any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As other kids arrived, they helped look. Soon, Mr. Kokotos came in, and Ralph shouted at him, The name jar's gone! The jar with all the names in it! Gone, Mr. Kokotos replied. With a look of concern, he asked Yoonhai, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Yoonhai nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Yoonhai wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I like the beautiful names and funny names you thought of for me, she told the class, but I realized that I liked my name best, so I chose it again. Korean names mean something. Yoonhai means grace. Grace! Grace Inhai! Shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Yinhai, Unhai. Yoonhai said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon the kids began to say it better, even Mr. Kokotos. They applauded Yoonhai's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Yoonhai. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Kokotos reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Yoonhai heard her new friend say goodbye. Bye, Yoonhai. See you tomorrow. Bye, Yoonhai. Bye. Yoonhai said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. Yoonhai, come downstairs, Mother called up to Yoonhai. Your friend is here. Yoonhai rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. Where did you find it? Asked Yoonhai breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did. He reached in and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Yoonhai said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you could put some Korean nicknames in it for us, names with good meanings. I could do that, agreed Yoonhye. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket. Then he took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved sharply into it. He pressed it in the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Chinku, read Yoonhye. That means friend. And Chinku smiled back. Please pause and answer the final question.